call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add another figure to my Mcfarland DC Multiverse collection. Now, of course, this time it will be the Mcfarland designed Batman Year 2. Now, this was a crazy release full of ups and downs. I mean, people had a hard time even ordering this figure. I myself lost the signed version when we had the pre-order apocalypse. I was only able to pick up the standard version, but I did lose the other signed version. But no biggie. The signed card didn't really mean a lot to me. I'm just happy that everybody's getting their figure in and we could get past that and enjoy these figures and move on. But I did get two. So I did open one, and then I do have one that is going to go into the collection. So this one will stay like this. And then we do have this one that I opened and messed around with. Now I'm going to do this in two parts because there's two parts of this figure. Display statue, I guess you would say. First off, let's go ahead and do this display version. Now you do receive some like little bars. One is like a straight singular bar with no protrusions. It is just a bar. And then you do get a side like kind of rail one, which is to like hold up the cape. That one does have a couple of little attachments to it. You also get the big old cape that comes with it, which is a solid plastic form. Then you do get the base, which is a graveyard diorama. You have some different stuff in here, some tombstones with different people's names: Jason Todd, Selena Kyle, Martha and Thomas Wayne, and then a pretty cool like statue head. It's pretty nice. You also get an attachment that plugs into it that is like a cross with another tombstone. Now, that tombstone is bare. It doesn't have any name on it. I think they missed the opportunity to put, somebody's name there. We could think of somebody, but, we can always add a little plate to that and paint it gray. And, I might end up doing that. I would just think, whose name can we put on there that would actually make sense? Maybe Alfred, I'm not sure. This was a pretty big task. This really is a little bit more complicated to get it the way it should look than people think. Now, once you get the stand together, of course, inside is the body of the Batman, minus arms. That is actually what holds the head in this cape formation. But I watched a lot of videos, not a lot because there's not a ton, but I watched some and I kind of said, you know what I want to do? Before anything, I'm going to go ahead and bring out the heat gun. Now, I did heat up the cape, and as I slowly heated it up, it began to soften, and I was able to like open it up a little bit more. And then plus, right here around the head, there's like two, parts here that go about here above the chest, and they were really off. They were like, one side was up and one side was down. They kind of like, evened out and got back into where they should be. And then, like I said, I was able to like spread it a little bit to make it a little bit more easy to get the structural bars that they gave you in there. And, come to figure out this is the best way to do it. This was the easiest way, and also looks the best, because once you get it to where it looks good, that it looks really good. So what I did is I got the body, and there are 4 pegs in the graveyard scene. Now what you want to do is the farthest back pegs is plug your feet into there. Now trust me, I did try other ways to do it and it did not work. Or the cape would be turned, askew, or it would be where you didn't have enough room, and when you tried to push it down to go around the neck, it would hit the graveyard before it hit, the limit of the neck. So this is the way I did it. It came out the best. Now, you put the body in there, you plug the feet in, and you stand it straight up. Then you plug in a single bar. You plug that into the graveyard, but make sure it drives down all the way. Mind you, this is when I had softened up the cape, so there's a little bit more room in there. Now, the upper rail bar actually has pegs, like slits cut out in it that go inside. There's like some indent, like some protrusions where you in theory you've put those in there. But what I found is that if you just get it in there and actually get it into that little like canal that the cape has and get that bar in there, then you don't really need more than that. That's going to actually hold it up to where you don't actually have to plug those little slits in. As long as you have it there, it'll hold. And then one more thing is, once you have the body there, standing straight up, you actually have to turn the chest pointed this direction. Because if you don't, when you put the cape down, the chest will be kind of a little bit forward. And it just won't line up the way it should around, that way the emblem shows through the like little crack in the cape and everything. So trust me, put them straight, turn the upper body a little bit this way, and then you have all the bars hooked in, and then you could sit them down in there. Once you set them down in there, there's like a hook plug for the upper rail, and then you pop that into the cape, and that's when you got it like the closest it's going to be to sitting down. And then of course you put the head in, and the head, you can move it, and you could see the Batman emblem, through the top. And actually when you look through the bottom, you could still see the feet plugged in there to where they're at, which gives it all like a final presentation for this little piece here. So all in all, what I'm thinking is that I was thinking, well, what am I going to do with this whole cape piece? Because I actually prefer to display the figure like as a figure with arms and everything. But I do have a plan for this little setup. So let's take the head off this. And in the future, I'm going to do another little video on what I actually did with the remnants of this, little display here. But we are going to use it in the future. So don't worry about that. It's not going to go to waste. So then the other way to display this figure is with the actual body. Displaying him this way, you get other things. Like he does come with his data file card. You do have some figure photography on the front. And on the back you do have some information. We'll add this to the collection. You do get alternate hands. He does come with like some grasping these hands are basically what I was talking about a couple of videos back, is that they're basically those hands from Bizarro and Infected Superman. They're just modified for use with other figures, like they did with the Blight hand, the other one they gave you that was kind of like gesturing. That's what companies do. That's what Legends does. If you notice, Marvel Legends gives you hands, but they're a lot of the same hands that they've already used before. So people just get them and throw them in a box, and you never see them again. But it's just the way it is. These are going to be hands that are going to be reused a lot. But you also get two different hands, a fist and like a trigger hand, a grasping hand. But those are different than these. They have some sculpting on the back of the gloves that give it a little bit different look. But in all honesty, I actually preferred those hands. Like, I don't know why. I just they even though they don't look as clean as these, they match better with the whole figure altogether. So those are the ones I'm going to go with. Now you also get a Batarang, a big Batarang. Now I don't know what happened here. Something something might have gone wrong through the communication with the factory, but they, instead of making it like so many millimeters big, they made it jumbo size. But go ahead. I have a box full of Batarangs, so this is going to go in there. Now you also get the cloth cape. Now In all honesty, I am not the biggest cloth cape fan. I actually prefer plastic. The reason being is that when you do cloth capes, they gotta be done right so that they look nice. And a lot of times they're not. They're not done right. And even this one, I don't really like the way it looks when it covers the emblem and the cloth is going through the front. So what I actually prefer is to, it has two different parts, the cloth and then like this plastic scope, around it. I actually prefer to fold it in like where it has these peg holes that are used to hold this plastic ring on, this like bushing. And I like to fold it in and then clip this on, and that actually keeps it kind of like draped over the shoulders, which is a cleaner look. I just actually prefer it. And instead of hanging in front like this, it actually hangs like behind a little bit, behind the shoulders, and it just looks cleaner. And then finally you can add the Mcfarland head. Now also this hole for this head was not drilled out properly, and I warmed it up and it kind of softened and pushed down a little bit lower. But that was another thing that they didn't execute right. I mean, it does make it easier to pop it in and out of the display, the cape display, but it doesn't help it sit in all the way down. But now mine actually does sit in, pretty nicely and has articulation. So that's what I did with mine. So now he is put together. Let's go ahead and take a look at him. Now, like I said before, I really like better the way the cape drapes over the shoulders instead of like towards the front. And I don't know how a lot of people did it, but when I watched reviews, their cape was like really nice. Mine has wrinkles because it was like bundled up when it came in the packaging, and it just won't, the wrinkles will not go away. So I don't know if they like threw theirs in the dryer or what happened, but over time maybe they'll like flatten out. It's no biggie, as a lot of things are not. So he looks pretty nice actually. I really love the blue, the light blue they went with, and the gray with the yellow contrast of the emblem and the belt looks really nice. I cannot take points away from there. Actually love the long gauntlet blades on the gauntlet. Looks really comic book accurate. And then I love the head sculpt. Looks really nice. The ears are a little bit long, but that is how Mcfarland would draw Batman. Now, the more I have this guy in hand, the more I'm really liking the way he looks. Now, aesthetically, I just think a little bit, he's lacking a little bit in execution, but the aesthetic look of him and the colors are really nice. A more 70s Neil Adams kind of feel with this Batman, which is pretty cool. Let's go ahead and look at the head now. Surprisingly, with this, I told everybody this, but nobody wanted to believe me. This head was going to have the whole neck, kind of like the Dark Knight's Metal Batman had that head that was like in that plug. Actually, they're the same type of head. If you put them next to each other, they have that plug, which Mcfarland likes to use sometimes. But I'm not a big fan of it because you don't articulate the head, singularly. You have to articulate the whole neck and head at the same time. But surprisingly, he does look down very well, and it actually looks pretty clean on this figure. And then he does look up, but here's where you get the problem, in that right at the bottom it starts gapping a little bit, so you can't have him look too far up because you start getting that little gap, and then you try to push it down a little and then he just looks straight. So not a big fan of that kind of head articulation, but it's okay. Now he does turn to the left and turn to the right, and surprisingly you can tilt his head for a little bit of attitude. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, now moving down, he does have that raised bat emblem. Surprisingly, mine, even though it has a little like indentation on the side, but the paint is pretty clean and it is centered. It's not turned or anything like that, so I got lucky with that one. the upper abdomen part would not move. It was like really tight. But once I heated it up, that did give me, you know, more articulation left to right. And then that typical Mcfarland, swivel around at the waist. And then he does have upper rotation and then lower abdomen rotation at the waist. He doesn't lean forward too much, like very little. Even with the heat that I applied, it's still not much, but he does lean back surprisingly well. Now going into the arms, he does have, you could lift up his arms a little bit above 90 degrees. He does have bicep swivel. And then he does have double jointed elbows. And then you go to the hands and he does have those ball wrist joints for some articulation there. All in all, pretty nice looking figure. Moving down, he does have that capsule belt, traditional Batman. Now, these trunks are a little bit short, and the legs, the left leg was also not in all the way. So I heated that up and was able to push it to where it actually hit, the limit of how far it could go up. And that just gives it like a cleaner look going from the trunks down into the thighs. Now, honestly, this is the best body that Mcfarland has sculpted out. It's just like I said before, the execution was probably not the greatest, but the way the thighs are sculpted out and everything, I mean, it's what everybody wanted. And he does have tons of thigh swivel, like a lot. You could get them pretty much all the way out and in. That'll let you do the double jointed knees. And then straighten them out. He does have up and down at the angle. Left to right. And then he does have rocker. Now, one big thing also that was not cool at all was that they forgot to put the, those like peaks on the top of his boots. Now, I do have planned that I will be sculpting those out with epoxy sculpt and then repainting it. So in the future, maybe when I do the what I'm gonna do with the cape display, I'll actually show these sculpted out and painted to give them the right look that it's supposed to have. But all in all, he actually looks pretty nice. Besides the little hiccups, he's a pretty nice looking figure. Once if you're just gonna display him, he looks really good. You can change out the hands, by popping out here at the wrist and then putting in either ones you prefer. I actually prefer these hands that have the sculpting on the back of them. It just looks more comic book style, I guess you could say. At the bottom, not really any tread, but he does have some identifying marks. Moving up the back, more of that pretty beautiful sculpt work. I mean, on the back of the legs up to the top. They didn't finish up the capsules around the belt. It's just flat on the back, but that could be more like a traditional Batman, like from the 70s or 80s. That it was just clean back there. Love the back sculpt. You could see like wrinkles in the cloth of the costume. Really nice. And then if you have the cape down, of course you have that cloth cape. Kind of a baby blue, light blue color for this Batman. All in all, pretty cool. Like I said, I do like him aesthetically. I just think, the cloth cape I'm not a big fan of. And then having to work a lot to get him the way you want him to look is also not a big positive. But all in all, really nice looking figure. In all actuality, this might become my new figure that stands up here. Right now I have my custom swapped out oval with the black Batman 1000, but this guy might replace him. I do have the, let's bring out first the DC Universe Classics Superpowers Batman, because that's more like a closer color match to this. And then I do have the regular blue oval from Mcfarland. See, I like this cape, but it was still when Mcfarland was making like more plastic capes instead of the softer ones, like the faux fabric ones that he's doing now. So I really would have liked better a cape like with the newer technology, but not really cloth. Just not a big fan of it. But you know, I'm pretty happy just to have the figure in hand, and he's gonna look really nice in the collection. Now, full stop, I just could not help myself again, and like I cannot. It just gets on my nerves so bad that I went ahead and painted in the pins, the blue pins that were gray, which was another, you know, mistake. I don't know if the factory did that or what happened, but I did paint them in, and I was able to match the paint pretty well, so now it looks pretty nice. Aside from other things I'll be doing for him that we'll see on the video whenever I get the work done. But anyways, guys, you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.